Welcome back to the monthly portfolio updates. I haven't done a video in a while, but I wanted to do an April update of both my stock portfolios. That consists of my stake account and my Vanguard account. Together they come to around 25,626 Australian dollars. First, if you're new to these, I just monthly do a portfolio update across both my portfolios just to showcase a 20-year-old investor's accounts with full transparency as I go through the ups and downs of both my accounts and overall investing whilst I'm still learning. First of all, as you can see, the stake portfolio is sitting at around $13,280 US, which is roughly around $19,919 Australian. And my Vanguard account is around 5,707 Australian dollars. Going through, not much has changed in regards with my portfolio makeup, with many of the companies still being the exact same, and same with my Vanguard portfolio. The only difference is, as you can see, things are now in the green. After being up in the green over 10% at one point, things went down over 15% and now are back up into the green. Looking through my positions, you can see Apple is one that's really been strong in my portfolio. Looking at the last 3 months, you can see that Apple stock is up over 26%, and that reflects when you can see my share price, the average price is around $134. Again, I've been holding Apple since it was literally one of my first purchases when I go back at my transactions. And I've had it for this long, and it's always been such a staple in this portfolio of mine. The other one that's in the green is actually Microsoft. This was a stock I was actually a lot more in the green in at one point in time, but it did go down, as you can see, but it has recovered really well, and it's something I was purchasing into a lot whilst it was down, as I still believe that the fundamentals of the company were really, really good. And I managed to get my average price down because at one point it was even potentially close to that, around like that 290, 280. I've got it all the way down to 264, and that's still pretty high for a lot of people, but now the stock's rebounded all the way to 290, so kind of having it around that 264, it made me happy that I was buying in when I was, because fundamentally nothing changed with the company. They still potentially have the Activision Blizzard deal, which might be still going through. Still waiting on that, but yeah, it's just a great company and it's something I wanted to buy into, so whilst it dropped, and it's actually now taking up a bigger percentage of my portfolio than Apple, which is surprising because Apple was always such a big player, and now with the constant investing I was doing, I didn't even notice that my Microsoft position has now outgrown my Apple position. Going through my other ones, Amazon, this is just I had some spare money sitting around from dividends and selling stuff that I just brought into Amazon because I thought it was, it dropped a lot off since at the time I bought it, and yeah, you can see my average price is around 133, so yeah, I did kind of potentially buy it at a bit of a rough time, but I was trying to catch it on the up and I didn't really care. It was just a bit of money. Looking back now, it's probably a decision I shouldn't have bought into, but it's just sitting there. It's not doing any harm. If I had to cut through and I needed some cash, it's definitely a position I would take the loss on. Costco is another interesting one. Every time I look at this position, I'm either up a decent amount or I'm down, or it's for the type of company it is. You can see the month it's traded pretty flat, but like if you look at the ups and downs of it, and it's something I'm consistently buying into. I want to get it to over $1,000 in it, but yeah, down a little bit now. That's because on the day it's down 2.24, but before today I was definitely up. Costco, another great company. When you look at it, kind of how it's run, I'd say Costco and Microsoft are the two best run companies in the world in terms of Costco doesn't rely on a singular product. They can change products whenever they want. People go into them. The membership's very sticky. It goes up every single year, the amount of members they have. They're building new ones everywhere, even in Australia, across the world, and they're always people in Costco's. Google's another position. It has gone up a lot recently. I know I was down a lot more in it, but you look at the last 3 months and up basically over 23%. Rough year still. I remember, when it was down in the 80s, wouldn't have been a bad time to buy, but interesting times at Google. Hopefully they can cut back and become a bit more effective, and with the whole ChatGPT and OpenAI kind of affecting the search market, it'll be interesting to see what happens with Google. Again, not a big position or anything like that. I have sold out of it. But yeah, that and Amazon take up a tiny portion of the portfolio. JP Morgan's an interesting one because with all the recent news around banks and you saw the Silicon Valley Bank, Credit Suisse, First Republic, all these banks that had these failures, it actually caused a bit of a hit on the banking stocks. You can see 8% in the last 3 months because I was pretty much flat on it, and then that happened, and this fall off that you can see kind of tracked here. But again, it's not something I'm too worried about in the short term. This is more of a long-term position with me. The only reason I really have it is for the dividend and for more exposure into a different sector, because you look at my portfolio, it's very tech heavy. It used to be even more tech heavy. So I tried to get a little bit of exposure into something else that pays a dividend and is a pretty stable company. So that's my position in JP Morgan. Don't think I'll be adding to it, but it just kind of sits there comfortably at the moment. Microsoft I already spoke about, and VOO is my, you can see when you look at the value, it's my big player. It's my big, kind of where the majority of my investments are. I mean, you were to work that out, that's probably around close to 10 grand. Well, not really, it's probably close to like that 8, 9 in Australian dollars. But yeah, you go through it. It was something that I was up on a lot at one point in time. But as things kind of traded down with the market, yeah, it's got a bit of a loss, but I've been consistently buying in. And yeah, it's just, again, you're investing into the S&P. It's a long-term play. It's not something you're kind of doing in the short term. So as I grow this position, the goal is to get this to $10,000 eventually. Probably not this year, since my money is kind of focused elsewhere for the growing at the time. But yeah, the goal is definitely to get this into 10K, hopefully in 2024. But just for the moment, get it up. And hopefully by the end of this year, my VOO position will be well over $7,000. That's my stake side of things. You can see not too much has really happened in regards with transactions. You can see some dividends, very nice dividend from VOO. I'll go through that more a bit. I kind of mapped out my dividends, but yeah, not too much has really happened. My portfolio, like I said, has stayed the exact same. No changes to that. And then if I was to go look at my Vanguard portfolio, this one's sitting at just over the 5,700 mark. This is actually with a pending order at the moment. I'm buying in, there we go, $1,628 into Vanguard's Australian Large Company Index Fund, which is I already invest in. So I'll go through it again. Yeah, you can see that cash is going to go straight to it. You can see I also have pending like dividend payments, which I'm going to track in a little while with my Vanguard ones, but I have started tracking my stake ones. So I'll go through this first. I am invested into VHY, which is kind of the high yield ETF that Vanguard offers for Australian shares. Again, the reason why I'm growing this portfolio, because I'll show you later, but it has been growing. The goal is to get this to 10K before the end of the year, is because I did want to kind of move away from the individual stock side. Because I looked back even like a year ago, and you can see my VOO positions a lot bigger, but it used to be mainly just individual stocks that kind of ran my portfolio. Where now I'm trying to get a bit more diversified, a bit more boring. Funny, one of my first investments was actually Tesla, which I sold for over 100% gain on it, and I made a decent amount of money. But after that, I've kind of just slowed down, and I don't really like to pick stocks as much anymore. Most of my money is going to the same stuff that I have at the moment. And again, I'm probably looking to simplify this and get rid of like Amazon, maybe even Google. But yeah, you look at my Vanguard account, potentially, yeah, just kind of stick with these three. I'll see. But I do want to add to VLC. VLC is the one that I had the big amount going to it now. So that will take me to just over 50 shares of it, I believe so. And this is kind of like it just tracks the biggest companies here in Australia. If I was to show you a bit more about it, it's pretty straightforward. It has basically the big four banks in Australia: Commonwealth Bank, Westpac, National Bank, ANZ. It also has like Macquarie, BHP, you know, the big players. The reason I decided on this over kind of the other products because I was invested into a few different ones, like just the broad Australian market tracking one, is because it has done actually really well in recent times, and it is still diversified. And I felt like I get enough diversification with my stake portfolio with VOO, even with the international shares, VGS, that this one I was happy to do just the top 20 companies and invest a lump sum of my money into it. It pays a really good dividend. That's one thing about Australia's stocks, is they pay really strong dividends with franking credits and things like that. But yeah, that's kind of the goal, is to invest a bit more into this one. Like I said, I want to get my Vanguard portfolio to $10,000 before the end of the year. That would mean hopefully my stake portfolio is well over 20 grand, plus my Vanguard one over 10. That would take me to, I want to get around that $35,000 of money invested in the market. Going through the goals, like I said for this, the goal is to grow my dividends and just kind of the consistent streams of income from the accounts. I'm sick of the fluctuations. I know there was big last year. I mean, you look at the overall market, just kind of how it went up and down. But I want a bit more stability in my portfolio. I don't like waking up and just things being all over the place. So that's, as I've cut back in my positions and sold certain things and added to some, the goal is to get a bit more stability. Another thing I wanted to showcase was actually my Excel sheets that I've started to kind of track. It's not pretty. I'll make it a bit more pretty. I'll fix everything up, make it nice. But just for the time being, I've just made these quick 3 graphs just to kind of track the progression, because sometimes you just see the numbers and I can do the videos, but actually seeing the progression on a chart just makes, especially for me visually, just makes it way easier, and it's more rewarding. Like, you can see your investments actually growing. What I've also done is I've spent a little bit of time and I went through all my transactions for all my dividends that have come out from my stake portfolio, and I've actually tracked them on this graph here. It's the dividend history from when I started my first dividend in April 2021 till this month, pretty much, or March. It doesn't feel like I've been investing that long, but Jesus. And you can see the growth, and it's so rewarding and so nice seeing that. I mean, yeah, you look, even in March I got $29, and that might not sound like a lot, but to someone who's pretty new to this in regards with investing, it is pretty nice to see. And yeah, the total sum of it is this $190. So yeah, hopefully the more and more it grows, the more dividends I can get, especially with the Vanguard account when they're paying a decent sum of dividends. Yeah, hopefully I can make it so the dividend income, and at the moment in time, I just reinvest all my dividends. I don't draw from it. So the more I can reinvest, hopefully the snowball effect, and the more it can grow. But yeah, looking at the stake portfolio, you can see this is just from the start of 2023. So you can see it starts off just above that 15K, and now it's all the way, it's basically on the 20K point now. The Vanguard account, after I made that recent deposit, it's actually closer to around that 6K mark, but it'll be over 6K at the end of the month because I'll invest again with the next payslip. But yeah, this was just something I was going to do. I'll probably make it a bit neater, like I said, and clean it up just so I can keep tracking it, and yeah, hopefully see how much more my dividend grow and my overall portfolios both grow. Well, that was the April recap for my portfolios. Again, they sit at around 25,626 Australian dollars. And yeah, this was just a 20-year-old from Australia who's I've just been investing, and I just kind of wanted to track it to kind of hold myself accountable, and yeah, just kind of see, even in the future, if I look back and just see the growth of my portfolio. And yeah, hopefully share it with some transparency. If you're invested, tell me how your portfolio is going. But yeah, that was just a quick update. Cheers.